Hi, I am Kristie Paul, and I have a strong passion in my heart to see people come to Christ. Join me as we raise up an army of powerful prayer warriors with the same passion to see Jesus Christ glorified and to bring this nation of ours back to God. Hi viewers, you are most welcome to yet another episode of Bring the Nation Back to God. I am your host, Kristie Paul. Well, like the intro says, we have a strong passion in our heart to see the nation come back to Christ. And we have been speaking to a lot of pastors and how they have impacted the nation, the people, their community with their churches and what they're doing there. But what about, I would like to say, the layman's work, getting into the community and removing the blindfolds, the lies of the enemies, Well, today I have with me a phenomenal writer, an author of 11 books, I would say. Yes, an educator, playwright, and she wears so many more hats, and we learn about what she does and how she has impacted the community in such a powerful way, to bring them out of darkness. Let me introduce you to Roselle Thompson.
Thank you very much. That was a wonderful introduction. Thank you so much.
Lovely. I'm so interested in hearing and sharing with our viewers everything that we've been speaking about. I am excited for them to know about that. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome. Yes, it's my pleasure. Well, I hope the viewers will be blessed. Certainly, you talked about the many hats. Maybe I should take them one by one.
Yes, please. Okay. Yes, please.
All right. In terms of being an educator, well, I've been an educator for over 20 years, teaching right across the education spectrum. So we're talking at from nursery to primary, secondary, and university levels. At the moment, I focus mainly on the GCSE, primary and secondary levels, especially those who are struggling, especially those who, I think COVID has made it worse for many of them, but there are those who people have written off, teachers have given up on them, the ones that they say are uneducable. I don't think there's such a thing. And so what I do is use an empowerment approach to bring and sort of reprogram, if you like, those young people, and firstly to tell them that they are the best. Psychologically, when you tell a child he's the best, something happens, and it's the same as when you tell a child you're no good, what is it, it has the same impact. One is positive and the other is negative. And so my approach is a positive one. And over the many years, I've watched children, have this 360 degree turn where they've moved from nobody wants them, they've been written off, to children, when I say, okay, within 6 weeks' time, you're going to take an exam and you're going to prove to yourself, you don't have to prove to anyone, that you can do it. And then they look at you and think, this is a different approach, what is she talking about? But it happens. When a child comes to you in that state, in that low esteem condition, you have to do something before you begin to educate. And that is to remove that barrier, remove the negativity and begin to put something in there before you can start putting in the education. When you remove that barrier, the job is done. You enthuse that child. They become children who want to learn because you're doing something to them from within. It starts from within and it radiates out. And so I love this. I'm extremely passionate about it.
I can really see.
It's something that it's a joy. It's a joy to watch children grow and develop and become, marvelous little leaders.
Yeah. So how did that passion develop?
I was very fortunate. I was brought up with a grandmother whose motto for me was, I am somebody great. And so I instill that in the children. This is the motto we had in school. This is the motto that I help them to live by that life principle. It has done a lot for me personally, and I've watched over the years it just working and blossoming in children and young people.
Yes.
Of all stages.
Yes. So because of that, I'm assuming you have the keys to reject disempowerment.
Oh yes. Oh indeed. Yes. Yes. I believe empowerment is the key, especially today. I mean, some of the scenes that we see around the world, you know, the various protests, the various things that have happened since the George Floyd's event, where people feel, in one aspect, they feel that they've been disempowered, and so there's a sense that they're using that protest, that voice, to reclaim something empowering, and then that is the way it's manifesting. I use my empowerment texts. There is one that is called Empowerment for Parents, and so that textbook is designed to remind parents that they have an amazing job as parents. You know, phenomenal. It's really a blessing. It's such a great gift to be a parent. So I'm looking at the spiritual empowerment aspect of it. So, you know, the duty of protecting, growing and helping children, but there is another dimension, which is the spiritual.
Yeah. And
so it's on an everyday basis. So you invest in that child. You speak into that child's life, empowerment.
So tell us how important it is to, you know, empower a child spiritually, because we can do it, try to do it, but like you said, you explained something about we need to lift was it the boundary, I think you said, and then fill that child. Tell us the importance of empowering a child spiritually.
The importance of that is that when you disempower someone, you have broken their spirit. You know, you have taken something away from them. When you empower them, you have lifted that spirit. And it's that spirit man, you know, within that begins to radiate in action. It begins to radiate in results. And that smile that changes, that body posture that changes, everything changes, you know. And so, you know, having seen that over the last 20 odd years, or more than 20 anyways, more than 25 years, I know, I can guarantee you, if you bring a child, and watching that child's body language alone tells me a lot of what's happened over a period of time.
So I know some different children, they differentiate. Some are easy to catch on and some are not, like you were saying. And with those who are not easy to catch on, especially in what your field, the education field, it may be hard to actually accept the empowerment that you bring into them. What ways have you used, or methods have you used to get it down there?
I understand. Yes. Okay. So the child comes with the parents and possibly some other adults, and you can tell that the parents and the adults are doing all the talking. And so that child is left out as if it doesn't matter. They're doing all the talking about the child. One of the first things I would do is to ask them to be silent for a moment so that I can engage and begin to lift that child, show the importance of his voice and what he has to say, or she has to say. When you do that and you begin to talk, okay, they will maybe balk a little bit to begin with because they're so used to being told to be quiet, or they have nothing valued to say. But in talking to them, in, you know, sort of saying empowering things, suggesting to them the kinds of milestones they can achieve if they begin to engage, that's the first step. Yeah, it's the first step. I remember in particular there was one boy who came and he sat with his back to us. He sat with his back to us, And because he really wasn't engaging, he's been so used to, being put down. And so he'd come at a point where he'd been kicked out of every single school. And there was a sense that, right, this is your last stop. And so I do say to them, when I asked him to turn around so I can see him and smile to him, because everyone's so like this, there's a sense that even just the body language is a way of opening. And so once I got the eye engagement, I thought, okay, right, so we're doing something here. And I told him what I thought he could do. I said, here's an opportunity to remake and remodel yourself. Here is also an opportunity to show what I believe you have in you, because I'm empowering him now. I'm saying you've got something still, even at this late as far as others are concerned. And he turned around and he started engaging, and we were talking, and I said, right, okay, so now that we promised this is going to happen, let's shake on it. And that was a shock, because it's like, which teacher says let's shake on it? And so what I was saying is that this whole idea of teaching and engaging is not something that you make a child fearful of, because it is an interactive a process. It is one where you have to empower and believe and show belief. And there is a lot going on. That communication is so important. So when you see a lot of the children who are aggressive, and they've had enough because they've heard it too many times, it's kind of dampened their spirit to the point where violence comes out.
Yes, that's the only way they can.
That's it. You think I'm no good, so I'm just going to be no good anyway. Yeah. And I've seen it worked. Time and time again.
Awesome.
Yeah, approach is important. Praying for them also is very important. Yeah.
Another one of the books that you've written is Spiritual Empowerment for Parents.
Yes.
You talked about children who, the case that you had the parents with the child, and the parents were speaking so much for the child that the child was, silenced.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people who grew up with that low self-esteem, and they become a parent themselves, and they instill that same thing into the child where you don't speak, you don't have a right to speak.
That's it.
And they themselves grow up and create that same cycle where of low self-esteem, no confidence. Is that where your book in parenting comes in? Yes,
it does. Unfortunately, some of us have grown up in cultures where there is a belief that children must be seen and not heard, and that is, there are contexts for this kind of thinking, but really if you make it the general belief, that is so broken. It causes brokenness, it causes silence, and the children who have been brought up under that kind of principle, they will not put their hand up in class. They will put their head down, while everyone who's empowered, they have their hands up, and they're responding, they're alive. It's like they're electrified. Telling a child, be quiet, shut up, go to your room, you're actually killing their voice. You're taking away, that spark, that thing that makes them that person. And yes, it becomes a cyclical principle in their lives. It happens in their lives, so they do the same with the children. And so that's why I said about breaking that cycle, putting that empowerment there. So the book is really about helping parents to understand that the language, what they say, is important. There is power in the words. This is what the book says. There is power in the words, the language. The Bible actually says that. And you can use that same power, which is within all of us, not to curse, but to bless, and also to develop that child, nurture it in the way that you want it. You and I have that power in our mouths. So you empower that child from the time. So the book takes you from empowerment exercises from birth, following the child to nursery, to school, and so every facet of that child's life, university, and even to marriage, when you can relinquish that responsibility a bit. But is that great? And you've got to be conscious that is something that you have to work on at all times. I'm afraid it's not just having the children and and thinking, well, that's it. You know, they just do as you're told. That's it, isn't it? No, it doesn't work that way.
I love that bit that you mentioned, because I know a lot of parents, you know, from my community, we give birth and we have the kids and we don't do that much input. We'll say, oh, go sit. We'll kind of control them until they're what we want them to be, but we don't have that much input in their life where we develop them as next leaders or next human beings.
That's right.
To, you know.
Yeah, you're right about next leaders, because you see, I'm coming from the position where, so I've had all this many years of teaching different children from different cultural backgrounds. You see, so you could see the ones that are heavily empowered. You know, they are enthused. There's that amazing belief, even at the age of 8. They can tell you about, you know, their background, where they've come from, what they're going to be. So when, you know, during the lockdown, I had a couple of boys, they were young, and year 4s, and I said, right, and what do you want to be? We were doing this, can't remember what the vocab word was. Aspirations. And they just said, they put their heads down straight away. They said, I'm watching their body language. I don't know. And I said, what do you mean you don't know? I know. I just said it like that, and then they looked at me and thinking, oh? And then I had to explain what the word aspiration means. And then, so for the next 4 weeks, we had to look at, and I said at the end of the lockdown, you will know who you want to be, because we're going to do certain, you know, things in your lessons that will give you such an inspiration, you know, that will, you know, inspire you, that you will want to be somebody. So we did lots of things. We went through some pioneers. We looked at some, you know, inspirational people. We talked in detail. You know, the parents were quite amazed as well. And at the end of it, the results were there to be seen.
Awesome.
It was there. I mean, in fact, in one of my programs, the first one, Children's Voices, it was showing just that. How in just that very short space of time, from March to May, how they had blossomed into some little politicians, I would say. You know, absolutely amazing.
Roselle, I really love what you're doing. I cannot mention it enough, because I have grown up in a background, you know, where my voice was muted and I don't know how to use it now. It's so much so that I'm trying to refine it and a lot of this, but I really love what you're doing. To me, you actually putting the devil to shame, and you empowering people, giving them that power to become, to realize their true self.
Yes.
That is so awesome. I cannot ask for enough.
Thank you.
I cannot ask for enough. So you don't only do that for your community, but you also have a TV program. You have a new app.
Yes.
Tell me about some of the... Oh, your play.
Oh, yes.
Let's talk about the play.
Right, the play.
Yes.
Amazing. So this play is a Caribbean play. It's called Gang Gang Sarah, a Caribbean sensation, as it is. So Gang Gang Sarah is the name, and she's a Trinidadian legend, someone who, the legend says, has, during the slavery time, moved to the Caribbean in order to, she flew, in fact. So, you know, I'm not saying she moved. Yeah. She flew to the Caribbean. But, I mean, I understand the sentiments behind that. Yeah. To look after the slaves spiritually. And so that was her role. And I noticed that when I started doing the research, that here was an amazingly important icon, Caribbean icon. Not much has been said or written about her. In fact, I'd written a book with her story included in it, and then it troubled me, because I thought, okay, here was a female pioneer and a leader, someone who had this, you know, astronomical importance as far as the culture is concerned, because once they were there, they developed and became Caribbean people. So, you know, she is at the forefront, and there was nothing there. So I thought to myself, look, we need to do something. We need to rewrite her history, give her life, you know, and sort of put flesh on the skeletal bits that are there, and, you know, and sort of bring her back. And so once I'd done that in the story, it became absolutely obvious that more had to be done. So that here comes the play. And I remember every time I wrote an act or a scene, you know, I would pray. And I'd say, God, I don't know where this is coming from. This inspiration, I felt so humbled writing it, because here was, something that was quite hidden being brought to life, being, resurfacing.
Yes.
And there's a lot of that needs to be done. So while people are sort of doing their own, recapturing in other ways, demonstrable, physically, I'm doing that in spiritually and in a written form, and something that others would be able to access, to see how it is that Caribbean people became, how African people being brought into the region in the 15th and 16th century became Caribbean people. But she's an amazing leader. Her portrayal is just dynamic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And you
First of its kind.
Yeah. You've done plays, and you've also you have your show on right here on Faithful TV. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So the Roselle and Friends talk show, again, it's about community empowerment. I'm always about empowering. Children are my passion. They're my love. But there's a sense that the community, not just the children, need empowering. So most of what we do is highlighting some of the unsung heroes, also documenting our history. And so there's a sense that we're saying we are part of the fabric of British history. And here you are. Here is the evidence, and sort of some wonderful personality, amazing people who've contributed so much to British culture and British society, that I'm saying, well, here they are, be inspired, whoever you are, by them. And so that's empowerment in a different way. I'm looking at both male and female, because there's a sense that a lot of our males have been disempowered through various systems and structures. And I know that if we can say they're not all drug users and takers and pushers, they're not all gangsters, but we have some amazing, male, young as well as the older, who've done some great things that we ought to recognize, record, make records of it, and show the world that it's there. So really, it's giving alternative perspectives and empowering all the communities, not just Black community. It's everyone. So it's a lesson in a program. Lessons.
Awesome. You do want to tune in. What day is it?
On Wednesdays, 11:30 every Wednesday, on the program.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. Roselle, I just love that you said that your passion is for the kids, but for everyone as well. But I love that you start so young, that even when people come across you, I know, because the story about, I think, the blue-eyed, no, it was the guy, I cannot remember the story, but you were telling me about someone you empowered and they saw you on the street.
Yes.
So you starting so young. Even if we come across Roselle Thompson, we'd have that in our spirit that, oh, I met this lady and I can do it.
Yes.
And I remember you telling me that story.
Yes, little
Oh
Robert.
my gosh, yes.
He said he was telling his missus, look, this is my present. Miss, I'm doing good still, And I was so embarrassed, there's this man with his children, and it's great, yeah. And sometimes many of them are calling me Miss on the street. I don't remember names. Sometimes even the faces, and I'm acknowledging them, and I'm still empowering them. Yeah.
Awesome. And you also have your app.
Yes, phenomenal app. It's called Connect with Roselle. Okay.
Yes.
First of all, I have to say that the making of this app has been made possible by some amazing people. That's very generous and delightful chairman, of TMH, Stuart Freeman. He's a man of his word. He's a man of action. And then his team, Pritesh Jani from Jump 360. Amazing teamwork to create something in a very short time. So dynamic. This is what I would like to say. It is dynamic. The app is easy to integrate, interact with. You've got courses on there. You've got the programs on there, anything that you've missed. You've got resources, the books on there. Many books are there. And of course, the dynamism about it is that we can keep adding more and more. So, connect with Roselle app. I'm inviting you all to download this app. Go to Google Play or Apple Store and make sure that you have that so that you can connect. And there are wonderful courses, many even during the half term. We have master classes for GCSE students, those who are struggling with Macbeth, those who are struggling with Inspector Calls, Christmas Carol, anything that's literature, but on the language side as well. You cannot fail. You need to connect, and then we will do the rest, and we will guarantee your success. I know it's a big deal, but I'm still saying it because I know it's workable. It's worked for 20 years and more. So, yeah.
Awesome. So is there any last words for our viewers, I know there's some teachers looking on. Is there anything that you want to, leave with them before we go, parents?
Yeah. Yes. I would say the power is in your mouth, in your tongue. Be always mindful of how you use that power. Empower rather than disempower. Love every single child and see when they walk through that door a possible leader, because that's what I do. Oh, you could be a leader. Everyone can be a leader. You can help them to do it.
Yes.
It's up to you.
Thank you so much. That was an empowering word.
Thank you.
Thank you, viewers. You can be a leader too. I'll see you on our next show. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, I am Kristie Paul, and I have a strong passion in my heart to see people come to Christ. Join me as we raise up an army of powerful prayer warriors with the same passion to see Jesus Christ glorified and to bring this nation of ours back to God.